I want to ask you to turn with me to 2 Kings chapter 6. We're going to begin reading in verse 8. 2 Kings chapter 6, beginning in verse 8. I've simply entitled my message, Fear. And I'm going to do what I did last week, and the very next slide is just going to be the entire outline all at once. That way we don't have to go point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, point 6. And I did go to school to learn how to alliterate, so you see all the letter P up there. And we're going to see some interesting things about fear and how we can handle our fears today. And this starts with the king's problem in verse 8. It says, "Then the king of Syria warred against Israel and took counsel with his servants, saying, In such and such place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, Beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come." And I want to pause for just a moment and look at what the king's problem was. The king had an idea of, I will take my forces and I will go to this such and such place. It doesn't mention a specific place, but it would be as if the king said, I'm going to take all my forces and I'm going to hide them in Joshua, and when the Israelites come up 174, we're going to jump out and get them. Okay? But then Elisha walks up to the king and says, y'all need to take the toll road today. Okay? Because his forces are all the way up there waiting for you. Folks, you can't win a battle that way, can you? Here's the king, and that's his problem. He wants to defeat Israel, but God's prophet knows everything that's going on and is warning his own king every step of the way. So we see now the king's perplexity in verse 10. And the king of Israel sent to the place, and the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice. So at least 3 times he was saved this way. And verse 11 says, Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, Will ye not serve me? Would you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? Now when he says, which of us is for the king of Israel, modern day terminology, he said, which of you is spying on me? It's obvious he knows our plans. I've got a traitor right here in the midst of me. And he said, which of you is it? Which of you is it? But look what one of his men replies in verse 12. And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. Hey, it's not us, it's Elisha. God speaks to Elisha. Elisha goes to the king and says, Hey, king, God spoke to me. He said that the other army is waiting for you over there, so you need to go this way. And again, this happened at least 3 times, because it says not once nor twice, so at least 3 times this has happened. The king of Israel is perplexed about it. How has all of this happened? So he comes up with this plan in the next verse. And he said, Go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. So get this picture now. He sends out spies all throughout the land. Find Elisha. Find Elisha. And finally, one reports back, he's in Dothan. And he said, all right, let's get an army. Let's go surround the city. And we will finally take down Elisha. Sounds like a great plan, unless you're going against a prophet of God. By the way, can I just share with you that there are many plans in Scripture that went awry because people were going after God's man at the time. And here, he had a great plan. Folks, if you think about it, this plan was really great. It really was. Find him, surround the city where he is, go in, kill him. All right, simple as that. He found him. He's got the city surrounded. He's going to win. But I want you to now see the servant's panic in verse 15. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? Now I need you to picture this, all right? The servant wakes up early. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many of you have a fairly regular morning routine? I mean, you do basically the same thing every morning. You know what? That's almost everybody in here. After a while, you just get into a routine. Here was the servant's routine. I'm going to get up, wake up, start stretching, probably walk around the city, and then I may do a jog on the city walls. You know, who knows how big the city walls were. So he climbs up, he gets on the city walls, and he loses it. We're surrounded. By the way, notice he didn't wonder, I wonder why that army's here. He knew why they were here. They were after Elisha. And there's a basic rule of warfare back then. If you're going to kill a master, you're going to kill his servants too. So the servant's going, I'm a dead man. And he's panicked. And he's scared to death. Folks, he is full of fear right now. But I want you to notice the contrast between the servant and Elisha as we get to the prophet's prayer in verse 16. So the prophet comes in and says, we're surrounded, what are we going to do? Verse 16, and he answered, fear not. The very first two words Elisha speaks to the servant are fear not. And I want to tell you right now, the very first two words I want to speak to you are fear not. Fear not. There are times that we can look around our situation today and get frightened. And you know what? I will be honest with you. There is a stirring in my own soul, in my heart right now that I haven't experienced in a long time. It is a deep concern about what is going on. By the way, it's okay to be concerned, just don't fear, all right? That's what we men say. We men say to the ladies, don't you worry, but it's okay for us to be concerned, all right? But he says to him, fear not. And I want to say to you this morning, fear not. And Elisha prayed. Isn't that great? He says to the servant, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Isn't that a great verse right there? Yeah. Anybody think of a New Testament verse that says that? Like, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world? Can I just tell you right now, the ones that are on our side are a lot bigger than the ones that are on the devil's side. Amen. Anytime, any way, any shape. By the way, even when someone is killed for the cause of Christ, the ones on their side are still greater than the ones that are on the devil's side. And we must remember that in all of this, that greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Anybody remember when presidents used to say there's nothing to fear but fear itself? Now, I will tell you this. I obviously was not alive back then, but World War II was a fearful time for this country. I remember talking to my mother-in-law. She was born in 1921, so she was 20 years old when America entered World War II. And she told me, we didn't know we were going to win. She said when that war started, especially the first few months that America was involved, folks, almost everything that happened, we were losing. Right. And it didn't matter what Pacific Island we went to at the onset. We lost. There were fights in Europe. And they would say, hey, we're going to try to take this coastal area. And the Germans would just wipe the Allies out. But she said, we did not know we were going to win. We read it in a history book. We know how it all ends. And so we go, oh, it's no big deal. Folks, to the people who lived then, it was a big deal. There was fear that gripped our country. There were thoughts that the Japanese are going to come and invade California. And you know why they didn't? There's a famous saying, and I have been told that this was an accurate quote, that he said, that one Japanese general said, all the Americans own guns. If we try to invade them, we're going to have people all over the place shooting at us. Folks, that is not a Second Amendment commercial there, okay? All right. I'm just saying that is what a Japanese general said. But folks, it was a fearful time. We look back over our lives and we think about fearful times. Folks, 9/11 was a fearful time in this country. But you and I both saw something back then that, to be honest with you, I don't know what it will take to ever have it again, but we saw our country coming together. I saw things happen in the weeks following 9/11 I'd never seen in this country before. I saw people who didn't say, well, I'm of this political party and you're the other one, I'm not talking to you. They said, we're Americans and we're going to band together and we're going to get this done. This servant was frightened. But Elisha told him, you listen to me. We're on the winning side. And I want to tell you this morning, we're on the winning side. And then he prays, and listen to this prayer. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. The prophet prays, and maybe this is not exactly the way Elisha did it, but I almost picture him chuckling a little bit. Lord, open his eyes, okay? Because Elisha already knew. Elisha already knew that the armies of God were surrounding him. But that young man didn't. And all of a sudden, for the second time that day, Elisha's servant saw a gigantic army. But this time, it was God's angel army. And now he's going, you know, Elisha, I think I know why you haven't panicked. And can I tell you, folks, there is something else out there that we can't see. And it is God's protecting hand upon our lives. It has always been there, and it will always be there. And I say this again, and I want you to hear me clearly on this. God's protective hand does not mean that we don't have difficulties in life. Because if that's the case, then we would all say God's protective hand is not real, because we've all had difficulty. We've all had hardships. We've all had hurt. We've all had pain. But I know this, that the one who is for me is far greater than the one who is against me. And I know this, I do not need to fear what man can do unto me, because God is on my side. And look at God's provision here at the end of 17. I've already read it. Behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. The mountain was full. I sometimes wonder what would happen if God would give us a glimpse into the other dimensions that are around us. I saw a mathematician one time on PBS, and he was up on his chalkboard doing this and this and this. And he said, supposedly, look, I don't know if this is true, but here's what he said. He said, I can prove to you with mathematic formulas that there are 7 dimensions. And I said, that's interesting. Do I know that's true? I don't know. But I do know this. There's at least one more dimension than what we're used to. There's at least one more. Because there is a host of angels that are around us. The Bible even says, by the way, that each of us has our own individual guardian angel in Matthew 18. Jesus talked about angels that watch over individual people. And I've seen the way some of you drive, and your guardian angel is working overtime right now, okay? So some of y'all need to work on that. But I want you to notice here the Lord's provision. God says, I'm going to show him what you already know, Elisha. And can I say this? If somebody comes up to you panicked in any of this, best thing I can tell you, be calm. Elisha didn't get worked up. He just said this. He said, listen, you don't need to fear. God's for you. God's stronger than the devil. And now I'm going to show you what I already know. Boom. And he saw it. I want to conclude this message by saying that fear can be an incredible, teachable moment. Fear can be an incredible, teachable moment. And Elisha taught his servant 2 big lessons, and I'm sure there's more that we can find, but I want you to look at the 2 lessons that Elisha taught his servant and that God helped him with. Here we go. The servant learned 2 valuable lessons. Number 1, God was with him, and number 2, God is powerful. Amen. He said, listen, the one that's with you is more powerful than the one that's against you. There's both of those lessons in one sentence. He learned God is with you. I want to ask you a question. Do both of those apply to us as well? You better believe they do. God is with us right now. God is powerful. I read you that quote earlier from A.W. Tozer. And now I'm gonna mix it up, mix that quote up just a little bit and say, doesn't matter what's going on that's driving us crazy, folks, God is still in control. And if we ever get to the point in our lives that we believe that God is not in control, that's when we lose. God knew that this was going to happen 1,000 years ago. I've said this to you before. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit have never met together in emergency session. And I love something that Dr. Wayne Martin used to say, and I've quoted this to y'all before. Has it ever occurred to you that nothing has ever occurred to God? God has never ever sat around and go, how did that happen? When did he get here? Well, I didn't see that one coming. Reminds me of the other day, my wife and I were driving through Granbury. And there was a sign in a building for a palm reader. And it said, for lease. And I thought, wonder if they saw that one coming. Well, can I tell you this? God always sees everything that's coming. And that's why even when we're going through the most difficult and heart-wrenching times in our lives, we have the promise that God is with us and that God is powerful. And we need not fear. How far will all of this that we're in right now go? And the answer is, I have no idea. I've got all the statistics on my phone. If you want to get bored, I'll read them to you. But I'm not going to read them right now. This many people have it worldwide. This many people have it in China. This many people have it in the United States. This many people have it in Texas. And then some will say, well, the numbers are so low because not everybody's being tested. We don't know what the death rates are. We don't know this and that and this and that. And you're right, we don't know a whole lot. But I do know this. God is with me and God is powerful. Amen. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I want to leave you with that hope this morning. Because that is one thing that I see missing from so many people right now is hope. Let me conclude with this and I'm done. When it comes to hope, the most powerful illustration I ever heard of it was in high school, and they had a concentration camp survivor come and talk to us in class one day. And he said that the wire around the camp was electrified. You touch it, you die. And he made this statement, I always knew when someone lost hope. He said they would just walk straight into the wire and get electrocuted. Can I tell you this? Don't lose hope. Amen. Don't lose hope. Amen. Hold on to the fact that Jesus Christ is with us. Hold on to the fact that Jesus Christ is powerful. And folks, we do that, we can get through anything that comes our way. Stand with me at this time, please.